In a recent interview, Celtics star center Kristaps Porzingis revealed the truth behind his foot injury that's keeping him out of the World Cup and goes on to say that if all goes well, he should be ready for the start of the season. I'll be discussing that, plus Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum working out together in the summer for what I think is the first time, and what I think that'll mean for the Celtics going into next season. So stick around for this edition of Celtics Digest, and we want to get right into this Kristaps Porzingis news. But quick reminder, if you haven't hit subscribe, like 95% of you guys, hit subscribe now if you like the content. It does you a favor, it does us a favor. We'd really appreciate it. Let's get into this. So this interview was actually in Latvian, but I had my trusty sidekick Google translate it for me, and here we go. So the first thing we wanted to say is Kristaps Porzingis revealed that the plan for now is to be ready by the start of the NBA season. Quote, I now have a 4 to 6 week plan that I have to follow. Feelings are good. Of course, I'm not yet in such a shape I can play and train fully, but going step by step, everything should be fine by the start of the season. And this is awesome news. Now, plantar fasciitis, if you guys haven't watched the previous Kristaps Porzingis videos, or you're maybe just not familiar with the injury, it really has a huge variability in how much it can impact a player. If you're talking about plantar fasciitis, it can really just destroy a career if it goes untreated for too long, or if the player plays through it too much. But it can also just mean kind of nothing. Like, for example, Joel Embiid actually had plantar fasciitis last offseason, and guess what he went and did? He won an MVP. Whether or not it was deserving, as Celtics fans, we might think it definitely wasn't, but he won it. It's in the history books, whatever. I'm not saying Kristaps Porzingis is going to go out and win an MVP after this, but for a lot of people who are saying, Kristaps Porzingis is so injury prone, here's just another thing to add to the list. While that is a little bit true for sure, like another injury to Kristaps, a guy who's horribly injury prone, it's never good news. But plantar fasciitis is not always this worst case scenario like you guys might think it is. So that's at least good news that he'll be ready for the start of the season. But he also said this, which maybe is a little bit more worrying. The foot hurts after exercise. I feel almost nothing when walking. It's a really funny injury. He described the injury as, I have an idea what the origin of the injury might be, but it's something that builds up over the course of a career, pops out at one point. It got worse during the training process when it started to hurt. Then I couldn't get rid of the inflammation either. And that's another common problem. Right? Again, like I said, if you train and you keep doing stuff while you have plantar fasciitis, if you're not aware of what the exact injury is and you think it's just foot pain from overuse, from being 7'3" and having a multi-year NBA career, you might just think, okay, my feet are hurting. Let me just take a break. But no, it can be a lot worse than that. So having some numbness is definitely not a good sign. Now, I'm not a doctor at all. I really don't know what the diagnosis or prognosis or whatever of plantar fasciitis could be with these symptoms, but at the same time, you got to think that numbness is not great. But again, he said it'll be fine for the start of the season. That's okay. But I wanted to get into this final part that he said as well. And I think this is really important for the Celtics as a culture, as a team, as an organization. He said Boston wanted me to continue my recovery there, but I told them it was very important for me to be with the national team even though I wasn't playing. They supported my decision. Also there, most likely, I will have a long season ahead of me. It is important now to spend time with my teammates in the national team, family at home, and Boston has respected all of that and supported me. Now, the reason this is good news is because if you're the Boston Celtics, you're a fan of the Boston Celtics, and you want more players to come to Boston and help Boston win, this kind of thing goes a long way, right? If Kristaps Porzingis, and also we heard Blake Griffin say something similar earlier today. He's like, hey, Boston is unbelievably amazing, right? He loves the organization, loves the city. Kristaps is there, Boston didn't say, no, you need to come back now. Some teams in the NBA would do that. Boston said, no, here's what we want you to do, but listen, you really want to play, you want to stay with the national team, you want to stick around your teammates, around your coaches. That is just perfect management, I think, if you're the Boston Celtics, because it allows Kristaps to feel comfortable. It allows him to do what he wants, where he wants to do it, while also maintaining a bit of strictness, saying, hey, you're not playing through this. We want you to be ready for the start of the season. We want you to have a training regimen. So all things considered here, I think that while the injury could be a bit worrying, especially the foot numbness, plantar fasciitis is usually not a career-threatening anything, and it should not affect Kristaps Porzingis moving forward. But it's really, really good to see that the Boston Celtics are really embracing Kristaps, embracing his passion for his national team in Latvia, and you can only hope that his passion for his national team, now especially with how the Celtics organization has been treating him recently, hopefully that passion, that commitment, that loyalty will translate to Boston this season and however many years we have Kristaps Porzingis to come. Now let's get into the other part of this video, and this is pretty cool too. The Jays are working together. I'm not going to show the video just in case, someone has a claim on it, but here it is. I got a little screenshot. Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown putting in some work in the offseason together. Now, in this drill here was just kind of a wing catch drill. You can see Jaylen there posting up, little back down. But you got combination, fire and ice. So Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum. Now, as far as I remember, and I could be wrong, and I want you guys to call me out in the comments down below if I am wrong, because I don't like being wrong. But from what I can tell, this is like one of the first, if not the first time that we've seen these two in the gym kind of alone, working together as friends in the off season. Because, we've seen Tatum workouts, we've seen Brown workouts, we've seen him play in different leagues, different scrimmages, these NBA scrimmages, these kind of independent ones. I'm not sure if they played in the Drew League or anything like that, but those kind of things. But as for them actually being together, doing drills together, gaining that chemistry, working out together, that could be a huge step heading into next season, because if Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum are working out together, they're on the same page. They're like, hey man, here are your weaknesses, here are my weaknesses. Let's figure this out together. Let's build this chemistry, because of course Jaylen Brown coming off that massive, what is the biggest contract in NBA history, Jayson Tatum going to get his in a few years as well. These guys are going to be the core of the Boston Celtics for many years to come, and I think they're kind of realizing that. They're like, hey, we are the guys, we got to put in the work together. But not only is it building the chemistry between them, it's also probably building a competitive fire, right? And if you're anything like me, you're extremely competitive, especially when it comes to sports. And if you're there with someone else in the gym and they're putting in that work and you can tell, oh man, they're working a bit harder than I am, they're making more shots than I am, that's going to motivate you to be even better. So to have Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown probably not only going at each other one-on-one, but seeing each other perform in these wing drills, there's always that competitiveness to one-up the other person and to put in that extra little bit of work. And it's cool too, because in these drills, you guys should go see Jaylen Brown's working a bit on his dribbling, his crossover, some of his handles, right? Some combinations. Jayson Tatum, of course, doing similar stuff. They're doing pretty much the same drills. But you got to think, again, having these guys working together in the off-season on specific things that they may struggle with is only going to be good for the Boston Celtics this year. And the Boston Celtics, along with this Kristaps Porzingis stuff earlier, if the Boston Celtics want to be a contender heading into the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, everyone's going to need to work together, and everyone's going to need to get better every single offseason. Now, a projection into this year, do I see Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown upping their game? I mean, how do you up your game if you're Jayson Tatum from being like basically a top 5 MVP candidate? Well, what do? You get to top 3, or you get to top 1. And I honestly think he can do it. As for Jaylen Brown, all defense selection and another all NBA selection, I think he can get that as well. Again, he's an efficient 25 point per game scorer with elite wing defense. Jayson Tatum is a 30 point per game scorer, also with elite wing defense. So seeing these guys putting in that extra work in the offseason, especially together, is just awesome, and it can only possibly mean success for the Boston Celtics. So I know I'm excited for the start of this season with Porzingis probably, hopefully healthy, and Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum coming in with this new mindset. Oh, it's going to be a fun season. That'll do it for this edition of Celtics Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. We really appreciate all your support, and we hope it continues for a long time. I've been your host, Josh Gosse. I'll catch you in the next one.